Cool. What's up, everybody? Wellness Week Live, Southern California, Northern New Jersey. Wellness Week Live. Hey, we're two friends talking. We're not giving any medical advice. Always check out the healthcare professionals. Okay, so Magnus, I was thinking, I don't know why I thought this, but I was like, what makes a person cool? When you see like, oh, that guy's so cool, that girl's so cool, that person's so cool, like they're cool. And initially I'm like, well, you got to be whatever their look, but I was like, it's not really about look, because no, it can't be about look. So I have my top three in my mind, and I'm going to share with you. You tell me your top three. So we'll start right off with this. When I think about what makes a person cool, the first thing is that he or she owns themselves. Like they own their persona, their look, their vibe. They don't run away from it. They don't try to be something they're not. They don't try to be somebody else. And not only are they authentic, but they flaunt their uniqueness. So if they're a nerd, a jock, if they're whatever, into theater, into science, whatever, they own that. They embrace it. I think that's one of the big things, or the first thing that makes somebody cool, is they're proud of it. What about you? What would be one for you?
It's very similar. I would say attractive personality. And that comes in many ways and forms. And it's basically just rewriting what you said, that you owe up to your heart, and you have kind of your own moral compass that you follow. And I mean, you could be well spoken. It could be that you have like a charming smile, that you like. There's so many things that make someone like have an attractive personality. Like they're friendly. They're talking to people. They're like, even the person that you basically not gonna like, that you can't get any from really, but you give yourself to people.
Right. Cool. Now, my second one actually is the opposite of what you just said, and that is if somebody is indifferent. Not that they're rude or cold, but they don't give an F what other people think. So like, oh, I got invited to the party, great. If I don't, great. Like that kind of coolness, so to speak. That, you know what, I'm indifferent to it. Now that might turn some people off, but I think there has to be a slight touch of indifference about. I do me, man. I march to the beat of my own drum. I'm indifferent to whatever. So I would need this second.
Like a little bit like like they have like an independency.
Yeah, an independence about them, right? They
Yeah.
march to the beat of their own drum. They're
Yeah.
indifferent to what people think, whether they like them or not. They just do what they do.
Yeah.
So what about your second one?
I would say good sense of humor, and that comes in many ways. From they could be sarcastic, they could like throw the funniest one-liners, they could like just like physical like comedy as well, and also like they're the first one to throw themselves under the bus and make themselves the blunt end of the joke,
Right.
like they're not afraid of giving they're like and being funny about things. And it's like, well, when even the most serious things, like someone can throw out the funniest thing, and everybody start laughing, even if it's like we could be at someone's funeral, and it's like, and the next person that comes up is like a clown, and all of a sudden the whole church or wherever you're having the funeral at starts laughing, because it is actually like they're able to tell a story and make things fun.
Right. All right. Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, a sense of humor, and that, again, is relative, but yes, a sense of humor definitely. My third one would be to be really good at something. So if you're a
Yeah.
good guitarist, if you're good
Yeah.
at science, if you're good at drawing, if you're good at poetry, if you're good at track and field, you're good at weightlifting, you're good at cooking, whatever it is. If you're really good at something, I think that makes you cool. It's like, oh wow. Like I remember growing up, like, it was like, okay, well, that's the best artist in the school. That's the best weightlifter in the school. That's the smartest person in the school. That's the whatever, like they all have a cool way about them because they were the best at something. And I think that's really attractive or really cool,
Yeah.
So yeah, what about
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, looking at like coolness and attractiveness, I think that have a lot of similarities, because like you do think that a person that is usually cool is attractive in one way or form, right? So what Yeah, I really, really like that. Like I didn't really think about that, but I think that is one of the, like, actually having uh like master something, and it also could be the dumbest thing also that you master, but a little
Right.
bit like you're saying, that like a little bit like nerd attractiveness or whatever it is,
Whatever
and it
it
doesn't
is.
have to be nerdy. It's just that it's, well, like, first thing, I got kind of thrown off a little bit. Oh yeah, I got one thing, and this is kind of like super superficial, but it's kind of materialistic. It is actually someone that is like a good dresser, that they actually, like, you can see that they're,
They took some time to
yeah, and also that it flows well together, and
yeah,
it fits their body shape.
right.
It
Yeah.
doesn't matter if you're skinny, fat,
Whatever it
like,
is, but they got
yeah,
their own fashion.
yeah, and they do not follow trends. They
Right.
they kind of they always go the own way. I mean, it could be like Billy Dean, that you're like walking with your jeans and white t-shirt, and you kind of like, you can always pull that off, or
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Jess, you're right. It's funny because that's my weak point in my life. I'm not really a schnazzy dresser. I'm a jeans and t-shirt guy. But to your point, like, yeah,
But you that's the thing though, is that if it's well fitting, it
yeah,
doesn't
I'm not a
matter. You
slob.
can,
Yeah,
you can pull that off
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
any
yeah.
day
I'm
of
not.
the week,
Yeah, I'm not a slob. But when I do dress up, I actually feel better too. I feel sharper. And to your point, right? Dress really does matter. However, the other side of the coin is you could be a sharp dresser, like my grandfather, right? May he rest in peace. Old Italian guy from the old country. Magnus, this man wore a suit every single day of his
Yeah,
life. Super sharp dresser. Always did his hair perfect every fucking day.
just like me.
Yeah, exactly. Just like you. However, I would say this. Unfortunately, when you looked at my grandfather, you say, wow, he's a cool looking dude. But
Yeah,
then you got to meet him, not so cool. Like he was really boring and just like there was nothing really cool about him once you knew. So my point is dressing gets you in the door, but
yeah.
then you gotta have something. And
Ye-
I love my grandfather, may he rest in peace, but not a cool dude. But he looked cool. He
yeah,
visually looked very cool.
but that's what I'm saying also, like, it needs to fit your, like, your the way you dress needs to fit your personality, and
Yeah,
also, like, sometimes you also need to be like that, you actually change your personality, like dress for the occasion,
yeah, yeah.
but you can always pull out, like, with something like small details,
Right.
like, are you wearing some jewelry that is cool, or are you like
Yeah.
the details, like if you have like a suit, well, how is your tie looking, or socks, or
Right.
shoes, or
Right.
like
Right.
if you have yeah, whatever it is, like all those small details when it kind of fit together.
Yeah.
I mean, but it comes down to this, like you said it, like, I'm saying that dressing should be an extension of your personality. You still need to be have a good personality
Of
to
course.
be
Yeah.
cool. I mean, like you said, you can be the sharpest dresser in the world,
Yeah.
but you have such an unattractive personality. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Well,
it's the same.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's the same thing when we're saying that someone, like, we meet someone that is very physically attractive, but they have such a poor personality.
Then yeah, that's not
Immediately
cool.
they turn into an ugly person.
100%.
Yeah,
It's funny. So when I was a kid, I have a lot of cousins, and the one cousin that I was so enamored with, and I thought he was so cool. I had a cousin named Michael. I have a cousin named Michael. But growing up, he had his own style, his own way, his own. And unfortunately, I thought it was great, but it was very negative, really. So, for instance, this kid at the time, he was a kid. Now he's a grown man. But when we were kids, Magnus, he was smoking at like age 12. Okay, so like, and he would wear like these, you know, uh, kind of. You ever see the movie Lost Boys?
yeah, of course, 100 times. It's one of the best vampire movies and 80s
Correct.
movies. I love
My,
that
my,
movie.
so my cousin was like that. Like he was a
Yeah,
lost boy, like mohawk, cigarettes.
Vagabond.
He looked like right, but the jeans ripped, the
Yeah,
leather jacket, really like grew up in like what do you call it? Kind of the street.
scarf, stuff like
No
that.
scarves, no scarves.
Okay, no
But
scarf.
it looked like kind of like Lost Boys meets like Grease, John Travolta, Danny Zuko. So, my point is like on the holidays, he would walk into the house, and then we're talking, this guy's 12, okay? So 12, 13, and he'd be like, smoking, and everyone in my family is losing their shit because it's like, what, like, what's going on? And he would just, Magnus, he would be like, how the fuck's everyone doing? Like that. Like, I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, in my mind, I was like, that's amazing. And no one can tame him. Like his mother and father would yell at him, like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then he would just smoke at the table. He would be drinking. He's not supposed to be drinking. And like I was like, this guy's amazing. And my mother would be like, shut your mouth. Don't look up to him. He's doing bad. I'm like, no. Now obviously smoking and drinking and cursing, not good. But what I liked about him was he owned it. He marched to the beat of his own drum.
Yeah.
Fuck everybody, and literally he would say, just and like for Christmas, like they give him a gift. Instead of unwrapping it, he would just rip the fucking box open, like, and then just throw everything out. And this, I thought that was great. I was like, wow, he's bucking the trend. Like, this is the guy I want to be like. Now, obviously, I don't want to be smoking and drinking, but his ethos was like, I do me, and I don't care who it is. I don't care if you're my grandmother. You get in my way, you're getting trained. You're gonna like a train going over. Like, I just thought that was so great. I was like, wow, he's amazing. So for me, he was the coolest. I was like, whoa, I want to have his ethos, like just don't give a shit, and he was indifferent. And that's what I liked about him. He marched to the beat of his own drum. He owned up to his own, and he owned it even to his own detriment where he'd get punished, and by his parents, whatever. But I was like, man, that's a guy, like your t-shirt says, I am all in. That was my cousin Mike. Like, all in, man.
Nothing stopping him.
Wherever this goes, it goes. Like, I'm just like, now that's not even me. I don't really have that type of persona, but that ethos, that fight, that kind of indifferent spirit, I kind of like that. It's like, yeah, this guy does what he does, man. Anyways, so
can I add something to that?
Ahead.
So this is kind of funny. This is how I kind of view a lot of things. Like, but looking back at you go into high school, middle school, like the coolest person in there, like, and then you run into them. It could be 10, 20 years later. They're kind of the same still person. They haven't evolved anything, and then like they basically peaked out in middle school and high school, and I'm like, yeah, that person used to be cool, but they're actually a real dork. When you start looking back at it, it's like, man, that is like, it's just sad. And then like, and they're always talking about the good old days when like high school, and like you were 18 years old and that's when you peaked. I mean, I do feel it's kind of, it feels a little bit sad when you're seeing those people.
Yeah, they don't age well, so to speak, right? But
no.
But I do like that. Again, that spirit of smoking, but
you should invite Michael for joining us on the show.
Yeah, I haven't spoken to him in years and decades actually, but yeah, he would be interested. I don't think he's camera ready or wants to be on camera. But the smoking and drinking didn't do him well. Let's just put it that way.
It usually doesn't, especially when you started that young. It turns into a problem usually.
Right, but I gotta respect his like shit. He did it his way. Regrets. I had a few like Frank Sinatra, but there's something about that I like.
He did it his way.
Yeah, I like when people, when they say like, oh, now we're kind of going off on a tangent here, but people say like, oh, don't burn a bridge. Okay, that kind of makes sense. But I kind of like when people are like, no, fuck that. I'm going to incinerate that bridge. I ain't going back. Like that was my cousin Mike. I like that. Like all in. I ain't going back. And like there's something about that that's alluring, And so,
but it also, usually those people that are not afraid of burning that bridge, they know that they're going somewhere. They always like their mindset and where they're already there. I mean, it's the same thing when we're talking about winners. A winner is a winner even when you're losing, because it's just the start of your curve going up. You know that I am motivated and I'm going to beat this team and I'm going to beat this guy because I'm going to go back to my lab and work my butt off and become better.
Even if you lose, you're being true to yourself, which is again, I say like owning your own, being you. And so there's something alluring about that. And I think people gravitate towards that, where it's like, hey, I'm just going to do me and we can disagree. And so I try to incorporate that into my life as best I can without being rude. But Magnus, he was great. I mean, my grandmother, who was the matriarch of our family from Italy, would be like,
I know Italian grandmas. I
You
know exactly what you're talking
And
about.
yeah, right. So everyone feared my grandmother, my nonna, but not Mike. She would be like in Italian, in her broken English, like put that cigarette down. It's gonna kill you. And he'd be like, Nonna, I don't give a shit. And he would just keep, I was like, and he wasn't fucking around. And I was just like, wow, he just told our grandmother he don't give a shit. Like, you would never dare, and if it got him smacked, he don't give a shit. Like, I was just like, that's my guy right there, man. So, anyway.
No, but again, it's like sometimes it's so funny to have these people that are so different from your own personality,
Yeah.
and they're doing things that you would never do or dare doing.
Oh yeah, I mean, he would get into fights that would, like a honey badger. He'd be put in the hospital, almost dead, and no big deal. Get out of the hospital and go fight somebody. I was just like, wow,
find the guys again.
That's my guy right there,
Yeah.
man. I don't have that, but I'm like, I wish I could be like that. Like that's some balls. But yeah, so we always loved that about him, that he was very kind of, again, marched to the beat of his own drum, and everyone tell him, oh, Michael, you need to go to church. Yeah. Oh, you know what like, for instance, this is a great one too. But one time they said to my cousin Michael, oh, what if God is calling you to be a priest? What if God's knocking on your door? And he'd be with the cigarette like, I'm just not going to answer the door. Like, I'm like, holy shit. He doesn't even respect God. This guy.
But that like having that sense of being able to, like, your brain is wired that way.
Yeah. And he wasn't even looking for a laugh. I mean, he was very serious.
He was just being honest. And
that's what made it funny.
But it becomes really, really, that's what I say, with a sense of humor. Like, even you might not trying to be, but it's things that you're really, really saying is so funny. And like this story, when you actually tell it, like it's not. I have one of my friends that I grew up with, Ian. He also a guy. You like, growing up, he had like the thickest of glasses, things like that, and his I think his dad is Scottish, so he has a little bit of like the red hair and things like that. So like, but so people were kind of like a little bit mean towards him, like making fun, and had like a little bit of a weird name for being Swedish also. And he moved in later on, so he didn't grow up with the whole crew, but he's one of the funniest guys. He has such a talent of telling stories.
Yeah.
And he ends up, the weirdest things happens with him. It's like he ended up partying with the Red Hot Chili Peppers, like we're talking about, like early 90s, mid 90s, when they blew up and was crazy. Right. Yeah, he just walked in on them and met one of their roadies, and then he invited. And this doesn't just happen. Like, this might happen once to a person if you're lucky in life. That's just one of his stories. He's been like in Africa being shot at by militia, and it's just like you can't believe it. But when he tells this story, it's like, yes, it has happened, because that he's a magnet for chaos.
Right.
And yeah, he's the coolest dude. He's a really, really fun and cool dude.
Right. And I think we gravitate towards that because most of our lives, right, we all punch in, punch out, working it off. It's most human beings. But when you have somebody that has a life that's like, whatever, they just do what they do. Yeah, it's so they own it. They're cool, whatever. Anyways, okay, that's all I got to say, man. Is anything else to wrap up?
Yeah, shout outs to Michael and Ian. We need those type of people in our lives to also see the difference, that like some people are doing things completely different. So
it's interesting, right?
Yeah, no, it's definitely a breath of fresh air in somewhat like our sometimes or bad smoke in case of with Michael. But again, it's such a fun thing. And I just want to say that I really enjoy these when we're making a list and try to come out with it. Sometimes it's hard, and sometimes you get like completely like sidetracked. But yeah, good fun stories today. So I hope people watch to the end.
Yep. Thanks, everybody. And check back in, like, subscribe, and share. Thank you, everyone. Magnus, thank you. I'm signing us off.
Thank you, guys.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, bye.